Namaste. Friends, I am receiving a lot of queries on the newly inserted clause H in section 43B of the Income Tax Act regarding the micro and small enterprises under the MSMET Act 2006. So through this video, we will try to resolve certain issues which are coming day in, day out. Friends, before going to section 43BH, let us understand in a very brief what is this MSMET Act. This is the Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Development Act 2006. And friends, there is no change since the year 2006 till date. What does this act provides in brief? In brief, it provides that in case any enterprise, any entity which receives certain goods or services from the enterprises which are registered under the MSMET Act, which are the micro and small enterprises, not the medium one, micro and small, and the payment is to be made by the receiver of the goods and services, then irrespective of their agreements, the payment is to be made within 45 days. And in case there is no written agreement, then the payment is to be made within 15 days of the appointed date. A simple case, suppose there is a written agreement between the buyer and seller that the payment is to be made within 90 days, then as per the MSMET Act, that is to be made within 45 days. If it is 120 days, then within 45 days. If it is 30 days, then within 30 days. And if there is no written agreement, then within 15 days. This is clearly provided under section 15 of the MSMET Act. And in case that payment is not made within the 45 days and 15 days, then that buyer will have to make the payment of interest, which is the 3 times the bank rate, compounded on a monthly basis, which is again given under section 16 of the MSMET Act, which is again notwithstanding anything contrarian between the agreement between the buyer or seller or any other law enforced in the country. So that interest is payable as per the MSMET Act. And as per section 23 of the Income Tax of the MSMET Act, that interest payment is not allowed under the Income Tax Act, notwithstanding anything contained under the Income Tax Act. So this is overriding the Income Tax Act, the interest payment disallowance. And you say that agreement is paramount or interest payment is as per the agreement. For that, all these provisions from section 15 to section 23 of the MSMET Act, there is another section, section 24, which clearly says that it is having the overriding effect, which reads that the provision of section 15 to section 23 shall be have the effect of notwithstanding anything inconsistent therewith contained about in any other law for the time being in force. So it is overriding on other laws. Now friends, this is there since year 2006. Government have been trying to see the compliance of this act, and for this there was a notification issued by the Ministry of MSME to submit the details of these delayed payments. It was done in 2nd November 2018, and to make the compliance thereof, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, they issued a notification in 22nd January 2019 for the companies to file the form MSME 1 on a half-yearly basis, 30 days from the end of the half year. Friends, now another attempt has been made in this Finance Act 2023, whereby they have inserted clause H under section 43B. Now, what is 43B's Act under the Income Tax Act? Section 43B says that certain deductions which have been claimed as deduction in the year for the year will be only allowed if the payment regarding that has been made within the due date. And if it is not made, and if it is not, the payment is not made within the due date, then the provision says it will be allowed as a deduction if the payment is made before the due date of filing of return under section 139(1) of the Income Tax Act, that is the due date of filing of the original return. However, this 43B H has been excluded from that provision. So certain payments like bonus, the duties, tax and cesses, the interest to banks, payment to railways, they are allowed if the payment is made within the due date, and if not, and if they are paid before the due date of filing of the original return for that year, then that deduction is allowed within that year. Suppose there is a bank interest which is to be, the payment is to be made for financial year 23-24, but that interest was not paid within the due date, but it was delayed. It was delayed and paid, say, in the month of April 2024. That is before the due date of filing of the ITR, then that deduction itself is allowed for the financial year 23-24. But this payment to the micro and small enterprises under the MSME Act, that has been excluded from the provision. And once happens, now let us take a very simple case. Suppose a purchase has been made by an entity in the month of May 2023, and that amount is outstanding as on 31st March 2024. Then the amount of that whole purchase which is remaining pending will not be allowed as a deduction. Simple case, suppose there is an enterprise who is having a 20 crore turnover, and the net profit which is declaring as per the computation is 10 lakhs, and is having a Sunday creditors or the trade payables, which what we say is 2 crores, out of which MSMEs, the micro and small Udyam registered are 1 crore. Then he will have to add that 1 crore to the 10 lakhs and make the tax payment on 1 crore 10 lakhs. This 1 crore deduction would be allowed in the next year when he makes the payment. Now suppose there is a purchase which is made in the month of March, say 15th of March 2024. And the payment to that is made in 15th April. So it is paid next year, but it is paid within 45 days. So it would be allowed as a deduction in the year financial year 23-24 itself. Right? Now let us try and resolve certain, come upon certain queries which are specifically coming out of this. Point number one, whether it would be applicable to any micro or small enterprises, whether registered under the Udyam Aadhar or not. The answer is, it would be only applicable to those suppliers who are registered under Udyam Aadhar. All those who are not registered, the enterprise is not required to make an investigation thereof, or the auditor, right? Second, and a very prominent question which is coming again and again, whether traders who have been allowed to be registered under MSME Act, whether payment to them would also be disallowed. Friends, kindly note that there is a notification, there is an office memorandum issued by the Ministry of MSME in July 2021, 2nd July 2021, that traders have been specifically allowed only for the specific benefit of priority sector lending. And the NIC code given there is 45, 46, 47. So these traders who are registered for the purpose of priority sector lending only, they are not covered under 43BH. They are not getting the benefit of the delayed payment interest under section 33 times का interest उनको as per law देने की requirement नहीं है. Only they are getting the benefit of priority sector lending, nothing else. So 43BH, the principal payment disallowance is not there for the traders who are registered under Udyam Aadhar. Another question which is coming is about such Udyam Aadhar registered entities who are micro and small enterprises who are having opening balances, whether that will be also covered or not. The answer is no. Why? Because the 43B talks about the deductions claimed which are allowable during the year. The opening balances deductions are not claimed within this year. They were claimed in the earlier year. So opening balances will not be considered for the disallowance under 43BH and for the non-reporting also. Another question which is coming. Now, suppose there is a services entry, a consultancy bill who is registered under 43B, or there is a purchase on which TDS 194Q, the TDS is not deducted. So whether there would be a double disallowance, one under 40A IA and second under 43B. Friends, the answer is no. The disallowance would be only under 43B. Why? And not 40A. Why? Because when there is a disallowance, I'm not claiming a deduction. So I'm not claiming a deduction. So 40A will not be applicable out there. But under my 3CD, the reporting for non-deduction of TDS, the requirement of disclosure there would be required, but disallowance under 40IA will not be there. And disallowance under 43B would be there. It would be there as per my clause 26 of my form 3CD. Another question which is coming, that is it applicable only for the entities who are getting audited under the Income Tax Act? Friends, no. Even because the entity is having less than 10 crores and there is no cash transactions, it is not required to get the tax audit done. Still, the section 43BH would be applicable to them, and they have to take care while computing their income thereof. Another question which is coming is whether this would be applicable to section 44AD enterprises or 44ADA. The answer is no, because the section itself says that it would be deemed that all the deductions from 28 to 43C would be allowed. So these would not be covered. So friends, take care of two things. One is my interest, second is my principal. The financial statement preparers and the auditors both. Section 22 of the MSMED Act, again, which is mandatory, wherever audit is required, certain disclosures are required to be made in the financial statements and wherever it is audited. So in that case, the auditors have to ensure that the delayed payment of principal, interest, all the disclosure which is required as per section 22 of the MSMED Act is made in the financial statement. That's why Schedule 3 was amended. And that's why when the institute came out with the financial statement formats for the proprietorship, partnership, that is non-corporates, and the limited liability partnership, they are mentioned in the notes to account the compliance of the MSMED Act. So again, that is mandatory, that is required. So interest payment, the details, the principal delayed, that is required in the accounting. And interest payment, again, the provision is to be made. Now suppose there is an invoice which is in the month of May 2023 and the payment thereof was made by say February 2024. So 31st March 2024, it is not outstanding. There is no disallowance under section 43BH, but the interest is to be provided. If the interest is not provided, then the auditor has to be very careful to see the materiality and report it appropriately. As per my standards on auditing, have to report appropriately for the non-provision of the interest. And as regarding principal, auditors should ensure that whatever the dues are there as on 31st March 2024, the first year when this 43BH would be applicable, to ensure that how many of the dues are there for the MSME. Tell the businessmen to send appropriate communication with the evidence that who all are registered under MSMED. Have that evidence with you. And also check the invoices, because many of the entities who are enterprises who are registered under the MSMED Act have mentioned their Udyam Aadhaar in the invoices itself. So if it is there, kindly ensure that the appropriate disallowance is made under 43BH and adjustment is made in the computation of income and income tax provision is made accordingly. If income tax provision is not made accordingly, the disallowance is not there in 3CD, then kindly make an appropriate reporting, a qualification disclaimer, whatever is required as per the auditing practices. I hope this small video would have clarified many issues in this MSMED 43BH. Thank you very much for today. Thank you.